Hi, I'm Dominic Cho, I'm leader of New Brunswick's New Democrats, and I stand here as the leader of a party that is unequivocally opposed to the industry of fracking in New Brunswick. Not opposed to this industry because of some of the reasons some people have talked about here this evening. I'm not against development. I want to see our province become more developed. And I think if anything in this forum that I would have changed, it's the way in which people are seated here. This side is not the affirmative side. This is a side selling old-fashioned ideas that have driven our province from being one of the richest places in the world to one of the poorest places in the developed world over the last 150 years. The idea that the only way this province can get ahead is by cutting down our trees, polluting our water, and coming up with industries that don't make sense, don't make a profit for us, but mysteriously take money out of your wallets and put them in the wallets of companies who bail out on us, leaving us with a mess to clean up, and not leaving anything else behind. It doesn't make sense. What we have got to do to try and move forward, though, is to make it completely clear that we are not opposed to progress, that we're not opposed to change, that we do want to see our province develop. It's the way in which that change is being put forward that's so misguided and mistaken in the way the fracking industry is being sold very dishonestly to our province. It's worth remembering, the Tories didn't campaign for this. It was the Liberals who signed the fracking leases a couple of years ago. And as we just found out, the Tories can't even do anything to stop a seismic testing license from turning into the license to start fracking in New Brunswick. They don't have not just the world's best regulations, North America's best regulations, Canada's best regulations. We don't have any regulations at all that we can enforce. And it's absolutely disgraceful. We have got to make sure that we break this 150-year-old pattern of electing people who say one thing to us and do another, which again comes back at the end to cutting down our trees, taking our money, and giving it to other people. We can have real progress, real investment in this province by working on renewable energy. I asked Mr. McDonald, the MLA, the minister put forward yesterday, the government put forward a couple of days ago, their economic development plan. Renewable energy isn't even on there. Fracking isn't on there either. Maybe the government themselves have finally realized that there's no future for this industry. But we've got to get out there and show that the anti-fracking message can be a positive one, talking about new industry and growth and development for New Brunswick. Thank you very much for the time. And sorry for being here. Thank you.
Do we have another question from an audience member? It appears as if we do. Could you state your name, please?
I'm Judy Makovsky. I'm just curious, I know, but just throwing it out there for whatever's sake. There's a lot of people out there that are talking jobs. A lot of people from the Say Yes side that are talking jobs, job opportunities that are going to be out there. You know, that people from New Brunswick are going to be able to stay home. They're not going to have to fly out to Alberta, you know, leaving their families and all that kind of thing. So I'm wondering, can we get some more information on the jobs that are going to be available? I know at the picnic last year, there may have been, if I'm correct, 2 employees that we came across that were from New Brunswick. The rest were from the States. They were from Nova Scotia, and I can't remember where else, probably Alberta. So I'm wondering, you know, do we have the people here, to do, I'm trying to go at it from different ways, views. Do we have the people in New Brunswick educated to be able to do these jobs? And to be able to access these jobs. At the same time, are the jobs that are going to be available, regardless of who works them, how long are those jobs going to be available? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The question was, what kind of jobs are, well, not what kind of jobs are available, but do we have skilled labor in New Brunswick to be able to work in these new positions? And how long will these positions be in existence? More or less? Yeah. Okay, who?
Won the government panel. The panel's going to answer.
At a presentation to the City of Fredericton Public Safety and Environment Committee last August, I believe it was in no, it was August 2011. Angie Leonard, for the Natural Gas Group of the province of New Brunswick, was asked that very question. And they have not completed, at that time, they had not completed their economic forecast for how many jobs and how much money it would be bringing to New Brunswick. But at that same presentation, they boasted certainly about all the service jobs that would come out of the extra companies coming in, their workers, they'd have to stay at hotels, eat at restaurants, and other service jobs created secondarily. So that was certainly an emphasis they put at that time.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Now for the negative side.
It's a tough one to do in 2 minutes as well. There are plenty of studies of places where shale gases come to town. It's pretty much like any other extractive industry. But essentially, economic studies have found that about 10% of the jobs that industry and government say will come actually come. But that shouldn't be poo-pooed. It's still a lot of jobs. There's no question if you're going to do shale gas in New Brunswick, there will be jobs. Who will get these jobs? Well, once again, you can go to every province and state where it's happened, is that the skills to work in the gas fields, you know, lots of people have acquired them from places like Texas and Colorado and Alberta and know how to do it. So it's much cheaper for the company to bring in those people than to take the time and money and effort to train local people to work in the industry. Now, there will be lots of jobs for local people to do, doing things like you mentioned, you know, truck driving, security, and all the ancillary jobs that might come up from having to, you know, expand your restaurant's waiting staff to deal with the new customers, etc. The building jobs that happen, the gas field jobs that come generally are here for just a couple years and then leave. Within a decade, 80% of the jobs are gone, of all the jobs. Because this is an industry, as we talked about, because the wells deplete so quickly. As they drill, 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 it's done, they're going to the next place. And that's why these guys from Texas have been to Colorado and New Mexico and, you know, Wyoming, and then they'll be coming here and they'll move on. The jobs that are created by the boom, the truck driving jobs, the restaurant jobs, etc., they'll go when the shale gas industry goes. There will be, many economic studies have shown that there is really very little lasting economic advantage to having extractive industry. Communities that have it are always much worse off in the long run than a similar community, you know, right next door who didn't go through the extractive industry. I mean, it's called the boom-bust cycle, and it's been around for centuries, and it's just so hard. And listen, I know when you don't have a job, that's the most important thing in the world, is to get a job. But there are many costs, which I haven't even gotten to talk about yet, maybe somebody red card me, about the cost to the community that come with these jobs. But the job does not exist in a vacuum by itself. It's temporary, it's generally not great work, although it's work. And it's not to be, you know, I don't poo-poo people who are saying jobs are the issue. It's a big issue. But it comes with too many costs that need to be considered.
Okay, thank you, Jim. So I'm going to invite our next person to ask a question, and then I'm going to suggest that we have our last aspiring politician to address the audience, and that will be Ryan Jacobson, who's a candidate for Ward 10 in Monday's elections. Would you please state your name?
Yes, I'm Marcia Burger, and I would like to ask about the costs that Jim Burger mentioned. I know all about the costs. They really
How should I rule on that? The question is, what exactly are the costs that Jim was alluding to when he said that, yes, there will be jobs, but there will be huge costs to the communities as well. So specifically, what are those costs?
Actually, I'm glad you did that because I can bring in another issue that we should have talked about with Red Card as well. There are so many costs to the community. We talked about just the economic costs in terms of the infrastructure that has to be built, so you'll get those jobs at first. When those jobs go away, then you've got all this empty infrastructure that you know, is just going to turn into basically a ghost town. Whenever these thousands of workers come to the area, they bring so many problems with them. Every place where they come, there is a huge increase in crimes such as driving while intoxicated, assaults, rapes. It's just, you have thousands of young men with lots of money and nowhere to go and nothing to do. So police departments all over where this has happened have had troubles. Same thing with emergency responders, somebody called earlier. One of the big things is the calls for emergency responses go up, and these people get very stressed out and overburdened. A big problem is because of the destruction of roads, which is a major problem. I mean, our roads aren't that great to begin with, and if you have a few months of fracking trucks, they'll be destroyed. But anyway, hospitals are finding it's impossible sometimes to make calls because the traffic is so backed up on these single-lane roads because of convoys of trucks. The roads get beat up so bad that they're afraid for their staffs when they go out on calls. All the response times are greatly lengthened. That's another cost. And we have the cost to the people that you love. If you got a job in the shale gas thing and you're making good money, that's great. But your mother and father who are living on a fixed income, well, the laws of supply and demand work when you have this. Thousands of people searching for the same products. It's not uncommon, and you can read this in any of the places where this has happened, for people suddenly to be paying $9 for a gallon of milk, or for rents where your parents may have been renting a place for $600 a month. Well, you can rent that to a shale gas guy for $2,000 a month. Who do you think is going to get that apartment? These are all things that happen everywhere this occurs, and they're not to be marginalized. I say a job is a job, and it's great if you got one, but it doesn't mean that it's great for your community.
Thank you, Jim. Mark, would you like to respond?
The government holds in fairly high esteem Donald Savoy, who holds Canada Research Chair in Public Administration and Governance at the University of Moncton. So much so they included his editorial in the flyer at Christmas time. And I'll just read the section on economic forecast for New Brunswick. Some economists have suggested that oil and shale gas development in our province may hold the potential to create more than 10,000 high-paying, long-term jobs and generate about $300 million in revenues for the provincial government.
He's getting better. He's not putting a slant on that. That's very good, Mark. Okay. As I said earlier, I was going to invite an aspiring politician, Jacobson, to come and address the audience, if you would be so kind, sir.
Let's see if I can get the measurements right here. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I had no idea that I was going to be speaking here tonight, or I would have done something with my hair, so just bear with me. I want to take this opportunity because I recognize a lot of faces in this room for being residents of Ward 10, and that's the ward that I live in and that I want to represent on council on Tuesday morning. We are hearing this topic is coming up door to door, and it shouldn't surprise you. Ward 10 is an area where we have our wellfield protected area. We are also being asked we're being asked the easy questions with regards to the environment, such as glass recycling, composting, curbside composting, recycling programs in apartment buildings. They don't have the blue and gray box programs that we have in our homes. But we are also being asked the difficult question, which is with regards to shale gas and hydrofracking. As Mr. Darcy, or I'm not sure if he's Mr. Darcy or the Premier or Minister tonight, will attest to you, I've been studying this file since submitting my nomination paper. Oh, cautious of time, forgot about that, sorry. So I'll make it quick. I've been studying the file, and it's a difficult question, but the answer is becoming very easy for me. And I was the only candidate vying for Ward 10 who was able to answer Mr. Darcy's question during our Meet the Candidate session when he asked a yes-no answer. And the yes-no question, was, will you support the city's position and take it to government for a ban or a moratorium on shale gas? And I said yes, and then I gave further explanation. The other candidates, I'm sorry, and they're not here, so no disrespect, but gave other answers similar to what we've heard before. It's a city, it's a provincial issue, we need consultation, we need discussion. Yes, we need those things, but we also need to stand up for what we believe in. And I gave that answer, and it was really easy because, as Shani said earlier, I just had to look at my children, and it became very clear to me. The other thing I want to point out is that there's a couple of other candidates here tonight, and they may not want to be singled out. I'm doing it myself. Ian Letourneau is offering, and Greg Erickson is offering, and Jim Wilson-Holm is offering for a position with the health board. They've all taken considerable time out of their busy schedules, and Matthew Hayes came back. I think on Monday, you need to remember these things, that these people are committed to these issues, and give them a thought. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to ask the panelists, the affirmative side and the negative side, to start the process of their closing remarks. While they are doing that, is there a final question from any of the audience? Is there? Yes, we have a final question from an audience participant, after which I will ask the panels to provide their closing remarks.
Okay, nobody should go out. I have something important to say, please. All right.
Could you state your name, please?
Yeah, okay, my name is Adnan Osman, and I'm a resident of New Brunswick. I used to be from Quebec. I came here for my studies, so that's the story. The point is, I think we need to aim for political victory. However small it might be, we need to aim for political victory. What is happening right now here is fantastic. We're informing people, you guys are great, I love the way you speak. There's a lot of people involved here, it's great, it's fantastic, but we need to aim for political victory, however small it might be. The way the electoral system is in Canada, we cannot reach one at the federal level, okay? We need to aim smaller. We're a big country, we're dispersed, we need to aim at a political victory. There's municipal election Monday. I don't know what I can do, if I could dance, if I could sing, if I could like take off my clothes, anything. Convince someone to vote, convince someone who's undecided to vote. We have candidates who have expressed themselves strongly against these things. We have Matthew Hayes who's running for mayor, we have other councillors. Do something, convince someone who's undecided. We need someone with vision. We need to have a first political victory. It's badly needed. It's necessary. There's still 4 days for the election, okay? Saturday you can campaign. I'm sure all the offices would be happy to have you as a volunteer. We need to do something. It's not over. Please campaign. Monday we need to win to have a first political victory. It's not over. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't think there was a question in there.
Well, you can figure it out.
But as I said, it's your prerogative to have a comment or a question as long as you stay within the time frame. Do you have a question still?
I just have a comment, and it's just in regards to the last, to what Jim was referring to. I think right now one of the perfect examples that we have is Fort McMurray when it comes to the crime rates, when it comes to the increase in rental rates, when it comes to the alcohol substance abuse period. When it comes, I mean, we all know Fort McMurray, if you've been watching the news, there's been a horrific accident where people were killed. That's not the first one. And you know what? They've said however many years ago that they were going to double lane that highway. And it hasn't happened. That highway is in the condition that it's in because of industry that's going back and forth. Yes, they have lots of money, but you know what? The situation that city is in is horrible. I lived in Cold Lake, Alberta, which is approximately 2.5 hours away from Fort McMurray. It's a smaller town. I still saw the effects that industry had. I drove approximately 5 kilometers away from my house and there was a drill there. And they pop up like magically. So think about this, you know, it's not just a simple thing of paying a few extra $100 in rent or, you know, having to drive down a road that's not in great condition. This is affecting a whole group, a whole province of people, a whole nation of people. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, I think we started off this evening with the affirmative side making the first statement. Am I correct? Yes, very good, thank you. So I will ask the negative side to come up and offer their closing remarks, please.
Thank you. Nobody asked anything about regulations. I had such good stuff on regulations. When we first heard of shale gas about a year ago, two things were obvious. First, the technologies required for its extraction, known as, and this is a mouthful, high volume, slick water, horizontal fracking of long laterals using multi-well drilling pads, had not been used, all these technologies had not been used together previously. This combination had not undergone any long-term testing to determine its effects on public health, the environment, or local economies. Secondly, it was very suspicious that the industry did not begin in earnest until it got itself exempted from a host of environmental and regulatory constraints. Accordingly, we asked for a moratorium until such testing could be done. We were ignored. Instead, government and industry told us that our fears were unfounded. They said there were no proven cases of water contamination. Chemicals used were harmless kitchen ingredients. Fracking was too deep to affect aquifers. It was impossible to cause earthquakes. Best practices meant that the procedure could be done safely. Tough regulations would ensure all the above and protect the citizens. Clean natural gas would help our carbon footprint, and the huge profits from this industry would solve our economic problems. A year later, the first studies have started to come in, and what have they told us? All of our fears were justified on each and every issue I just mentioned. Studies by universities, government agencies, and independent researchers have put science behind all of our concerns. Just as importantly, they raised new areas of concerns to investigate, such as the occurrence of record-breaking amounts of poisonous ground-level ozone, where shale gas was being developed in rural areas in winter. This phenomenon had always occurred in urban areas in summertime. While jurisdictions everywhere tout their regulations as the toughest, the same number and type of problems occur everywhere. Fines have simply become the cost of doing business, and the public is rarely and adequately compensated for damages. No jurisdiction anywhere has called for public disclosure of fracking fluids prior to the fracking. This is the only regulation that would protect citizens, but it would open up industry to actual liability. Thus, no government that wants shale gas will suggest it. Remember, the only reason the industry exists is because it got itself exempted from environmental regulations. And I know I'm going to go over 2 minutes here. Are these studies the final word? Of course not. There needs to be many more of them. But their evidence overwhelmingly supports the idea that one can't write regulations for things that they know nothing about, or cannot even conceive will happen. The economics of the industry have also been exposed as being as baseless as its claims of safety. Based on a business model that has been likened to a Ponzi scheme by economists and analysts, both from within and outside the industry, it is heavily dependent on borrowing and constant drilling to pay debts. The endless drilling has produced a surplus that pushed gas to record low prices. Companies already producing at less than cost are now hemorrhaging money, getting out of the business, or will go bankrupt. Governments who depend on royalties have seen their shares cut drastically, and the crisis has brought to light investigations into fraud and other wrongdoing within the industry. So finally, the promise of jobs has proven to be the usual boom-bust cycle that comes with all gold rush enterprises, leaving localities in worse shape than before. With accumulating evidence almost entirely supporting the reasons not to develop this industry, a continually growing number of municipalities and governments around the world have passed shale gas bans or moratoria. In just this last week, Germany, the U.S. state of Vermont, and our own municipality of Memramcook have officially declared their refusals to allow this industry to proceed. We hope that New Brunswickers take note of this as they cast their ballots in the upcoming election. Where do your candidate and municipalities stand on this issue? We need to elect those who understand and will implement progressive job creation that builds municipalities and a province for today and the future, and offers real economic recovery, long-term employment, an environment that supports good health, offering its citizens and visitors an amazing place to visit and live. Say yes to this with your vote. Shale gas development cannot coexist with good health or the environment or the people. With your vote, say no to an industry that will risk our health, livelihood, and the space we share with each other. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Have we kept track of how much he went overtime? In Toastmasters, where I spent a considerable amount of time, we have such a thing called a fines master, and we normally fine people who go overtime.
Okay, I'll pay the fine. Nothing to
The David Alward government was elected after the NB Power deal controversy, and he was elected on a mandate to listen to the people. So I think it appropriate that my closing comments be from Premier David Alward himself and his commitment to the people with respect to the development of this industry here in New Brunswick. And after hearing this, I would certainly encourage citizens to take him at his word, contact your MLA, contact the government, and make sure that they listen to the people. In North America, there have been great successes in this industry. There have been challenges too, we know that. But that's why New Brunswick officials are studying the successes and the challenges now. This knowledge will help us to go forward safely with the development of shale gas in New Brunswick. It will enable us to harness this natural resource in an environmentally responsible way. With this goal in mind, our government formed the Shale Gas Steering Committee in January of this year. This group has been leading the further development of regulations surrounding shale gas development in our province. But from the onset, this work has been done with a clear understanding of something very important. Here in New Brunswick, our environment matters to all of us. New Brunswickers must have both economic development, but with our environment protected at all costs. It's a balance that is the #1 priority on this entire file. That's why we are pulling in place a robust regulatory regime for shale gas development in New Brunswick. I know people are specifically concerned about the quality of water, handling of flowback, the fracking process itself, and the integrity of well casings. We are concerned about these issues as well, and I'm committed to ensuring our government's regulations will address these. We actually have a strong set of policies and regulations already, but we will need them to go further to ensure New Brunswickers and our environment will remain protected. And we'll make sure they do go further. As a matter of fact, we'll make sure New Brunswick has some of the toughest regulations governing exploration and development on this continent. And I'll just go down. Going forward, to further reach out to New Brunswickers, Minister Northrup, assisted by experts from government, will be holding online forums to answer questions from New Brunswickers. Furthermore, government MLAs will be holding town hall and information meetings in their respective ridings this month, this is last October, to hear directly from their constituents on this important issue. So I urge all New Brunswickers to make the most of this consultation program. It's a way to become informed about shale gas development and use that knowledge to make a decision on what is best for New Brunswick. In so doing, every New Brunswicker will be engaged in a vitally important public discussion about something that matters to us all. That's our future as a province, our economic and our environmental future. It's a discussion we as New Brunswickers all need to have. And I can tell you our government is always ready to lend an ear as what the people of our province have to say. Throughout this mandate and beyond, New Brunswickers can be assured we're going to be a government that listens to people. Moreover, we will always be a government that works with New Brunswickers in the effort to bring a stronger, more prosperous province. Thank you very much.
That wasn't much of an applause for the representative of your government. Well, I guess it's time to bring this evening to a close. I just want to say a few things myself before thanking those who are responsible for organizing this evening. We've heard a lot of information tonight about shale gas, why we should go ahead and perhaps why we shouldn't. But if there's one lesson that you go home with tonight is what's happened to our democracy. We made a conscientious effort to have representation from our elected officials to meet with us here for a conversation. That's all we wanted to do, is to have a conversation, like we do all the time here in the Maritimes and in New Brunswick. If there's one thing that you can do to make this evening worthwhile, is when you go back home, just write a simple email to the Premier and to your MLA and express how disappointed you are that they couldn't even find the time to come down and have a chat with us. And if they were so occupied, and that can happen, people are busy, they could have at least sent a representative. So my message to you tonight, in addition to the discussions that we've had on shale gas, is what's happening to our democracy in this province. Having said that, I want to take this opportunity to thank the organizing committee for this event. I hope that we will be able to have more of these across the province, and I hope that on the basis of the notes that you will be sending the Premier and to your MLAs, that they will actually make an effort to appear the next time that we do this. Again, thank you to the organizing committee. Thank you very much to the panelists, to the greeters, to the people who prepared the coffee and the tea, to our timer, to our secretary, and to anybody else that I may have forgotten.
Thank you, Jean-Louis.
You're very welcome. And most importantly, thank you to all of you for taking the time from your busy schedules to come and chat with us tonight.
Remember to ask for money for the...
Oh, yes. Don't forget, please, if you wish to make a contribution, that would be greatly appreciated. Good night, thanks again, and safe travels.